Hi, John Grenham here again, the latest video in the series on Irish ancestors. Today I'm going to be talking to you about Irish census records, not in a slightly unusual way. And we're going to be talking about how you come at them in such a way that you extract the maximum amount of information, the various angles of attack, and the way they connect with each other and so on. So as usual, I'm going to start with the website. So let's go there now. Okay, here we are. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the way that I would normally come at the 1901-1911 census returns. And I'm going to do it in relation to my own grandfather. Okay, civil parish maps, Roscommon, the wonderful county of Roscommon, and the wonderful county of St. Peter's, which is the western side of Athlone town. And there we are, St. Peter's. In Roscommon, on the Connaught side of the Shannon. The other side is Leinster. So, okay, you can see here, this is a familiar civil parish page. The list of place names in it is what I'm going to concentrate on. If you click on the place name itself, you get taken to the 1850s Griffiths valuation. If you click on 1901 and 1911, you get taken to the census returns. So let's have a look. One of the things about this, I should say, is that clicking on the 1901 and 1911 takes you to the district electoral division containing that place. The reason for this is that the transcriptions of district electoral division names on the National Web Archives website is, shall we say, a little bit too creative. So the transcriptions of place names are equally mucked about with. So this gets you to the DED, and then you can identify the DED. That works much better for rural areas, for places like Ballymulla and Bogganfin and Bunaribba, than it does for towns. Also, where there's a town divided between two counties, or in this case between two provinces, that can be problematic. In this case, it'll work because I checked it earlier. And there we go, Athlone. Athlone, you'll notice it says Westmeath. The proud people of the Roscommon side may exercise their outrage now. Okay, Connaught Street is where the family come from. So I search there first of all and do a search in the browser for Grenham, Gorenham. And there we are, there's one of them. So few occupants. We have Margaret Shine, Rose Downey, and John Grenham, 18. Okay, we look at the original as always. So Margaret Shine was literate. She signed her name. She gives her age as 36, which is optimistic. Rose was general servant. She's a widow. John Grenham is her cousin. Okay, and he's aged 18, and he was born in Roscommon. This is my grandfather, no doubt. But a cousin. Okay, most people, when they say cousin, they understand first cousin. This particular relationship to the head of the family is a vital part of it. It's the beginnings of the stirrings of a family tree. So cousin, John Grenham is a cousin to Margaret Shine. That would say, in most people's mind, first cousin, so that John Grenham should have a grandparent in common with Margaret Shine. I know very well from having done the rest of the family tree that he doesn't. That he certainly is not her first cousin. So, okay, away you go. How do you find out? Well, okay, you want to find out what her maiden name was, if she had any other children, if she had any children. What he is here is he's a shop assistant in a shopkeeper. So he owned his own shop just up the street later on. But at this stage, he was serving his apprenticeship with what appears to be his cousin. Okay, the next thing I would do is look at the 1911 to see what that says about it. So 1911, one of the things about having those links on the site means you can go in very easily and check quickly and dirtily. As most people know, my middle names are quick and dirty. There's no Grenhams there this time. Okay, so my grandfather isn't there. What about Shines? There's one Shine. And there is Margaret Shine. Again, we look at the original and zoom in on her. And she's 50, so she's aged 14 years. She's a widow. She's had one child, and one child is still living. And there he is, Thomas, her son, age 23. With that information, and he specifies he was born in Westmeath, not Roscommon. You can see the rivalry between the two sides of the town there, even at that stage. With his name and her name, Margaret, it's possible to go into the transcripts of baptismal records. It's possible to go into Irish genealogy, find a birth record. And it turns out her maiden surname is McManus. And her mother she was a cousin of my grandfather's mother. Okay. So my grandfather was her first cousin once removed. And since you're obviously dying to know, I'm her first cousin 3 times removed. What this did, this little avenue of attack, it opened up a whole new branch of the family I never knew about. Okay, so just querying the relationship, following it up, coming forward, even though this has nothing to do with my grandfather here, it tells us more about this woman who said she was his cousin in 1901. So you go back and forth, you keep the focus as broad as possible, and yeah, you keep going at it. Okay, that's just an example of using the census returns and of getting access to them quickly and easily through this particular aspect of the site. Another aspect is the 1911 institutions. I've talked about this already. I want to just, let's see, take the hospitals and zoom in. There's one aspect of this that can be really problematic if you're trying to. So in Cork 3 Urban DED, you go to that, you get taken to the list of hospitals. So we're interested in the biggest one there on the or big one there on the Glanmire Road, and we go in there. That takes us to the site, and you can see number 4 here. That's obviously the hospital, but look at the list of names. It goes on and on and on, and you want to look at the original, and it goes on and 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 on, and there are 36 pages. And there's no way of going back and forth before them. And there's no link from the surname here to the actual page it's on. So you're going to have to go through them one by one. How in the name of God do you do that? Okay, you do this. There's the first, and you can see, obviously, this is members of the community. These are nuns. The occupation is religious. Okay, so we want to go forward through all the other forms of that. The best way to do it, I find, is through Shane Wilson's site. Shane has done an image browsing tool called the Census Image Browse tool. Here, what you do is you just take this part of the address from the URL, you paste it in there, go there, and there we are at the site we were looking at, the page we were looking at, and you want to go through it, you go next. That's the back of the page. Next, the next form. Next, members of the community. Next. What are we looking at here? Is it a convent? No, these are inmates, it says there. 85. Ooh, look at that. Okay, next. What is it? Okay. Let's go back and I'll show you how you can find out, even though the form itself doesn't say what the institution is, the house and building return almost always does. So the house and building return for number 4, let's just see it here, says Little Sisters of the Poor, Home for the Aged. And Sister Fanny Kelly is the superioress, she's the head of the family in it. Okay, so even though they're all just Form A's filled out, they're not specifically hospital forms, you can find out exactly what the institution was by going to the house and building return there on Form B1. Okay, so all of these basically leverage everything you have as much as possible. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is different search interfaces to it. As anybody who's ever heard me talk about the census knows, I'm a big fan of the search interface on the National Archives website itself. The reason for this is that everything on it can be leveraged. So the marital status, the occupation, the literacy, the number of years married, for this is for 1911, the townlander street. Basically, it's let me blacksmiths. You want to find out how many blacksmiths there were in Ireland? Blacksmith. There were 7,345 blacksmiths. How many Presbyterian blacksmiths were there? There were 940 Presbyterian blacksmiths. How many of those were in Fermanagh? Okay, just one in Fermanagh. It means that if you are using the information they have here, you can, any information you have, you can leverage it to find out more. There are some flaws, is not quite the word. There are some things missing here. And I'm going to talk about how you can get around those through other search interfaces. I mean, one of you can search in the relationship to the head of the household, but you can't search for more than one person. So, for example, if you are looking for, well, let me go and give an example. Okay, let me go to Family Search. Family Search is the free Mormon website. It's the by far the biggest. Here we go. By far the biggest free site, and it has, say, the 1901 census, because these are the National Archives very generously lets people scrape the website and use it, which is how I can do the institutions thing, and other people can do this. So let's just Patrick. We want to find how many Patrick Murphys there were in the 1901 census. We want them to be exactly Patrick. One of the things that Family Search does that the National Archives doesn't is search on variance. But I'm going to go exact. So how many Patrick Murphys were there in 1901? Okay. There were 2,975. Okay. You poor thing if you have a Patrick Murphy. Okay. But you know his father. His father was John Murphy, and his mother was Mary. Okay. When you do this, be careful, because what you're saying, if his mother is deceased at this point, she won't appear in the census. So his mother must be alive for this to work. So John and Mary, and search and update. And we've gone from 2,975 to 31. So there are only 31 returns with Patrick, whose father is John and mother is Mary. Okay. What if we want them to be in Cork? Cork, and update, and you can see we're down to 9. So you can see, even with Murphy, even with the most feared and detested name in the entire realm of Irish genealogy, Patrick Murphy, you can use whatever bits of information you have to zero in on them. I mean, this is with parents, okay, not with siblings. You can, if you go to Ancestry, use siblings. This is what all of the 1901, 1911 returns are available on the National Archives site, on Family Search, on Ancestry.com, and on Find My Past. So and they're all slightly different. So let me just find it. They don't make it as easy as it should be, but okay, we see the 1901 census. Now, this is, you can search for Patrick, you can search for his father, his mother, sibling, spouse, child. You can also search some of the other things on the form: the marital status, the relationship to head, the religion, the language spoken, and the gender. Okay, you can't search on occupation, you can't search on various other things that are there in the National Archives one. One of the interesting things about the Ancestry search interfaces is that sorry, that's 1901 again. The 1901 and the 1911 search interfaces are actually different. Why? I don't know. Ask Ancestry. So here you can search for all the usuals: father, mother, sibling, spouse, but you can also search marital status, occupation, electoral district, number of, in other words, this matches the National Archives, but only for the 1911 census, not for the 1901. Okay, Find My Past again is one of the things about the Find My Past collection, even though they don't make it as clear as they should. It is free to search. So Ireland, say the 1901 census, and again, this is not quite as comprehensive as the National Archives, certainly not as comprehensive. It searches on variants. Their name variants are a bit better than ancestries. They're not as good as family searches. So there are swings and roundabouts for all of these things. It's worth giving them all a go if you're not finding what you're expecting to find. One of the things this does is just an unspecified other household member. So if you know that there was a Jack or a John, you can put in name variants Jack, and it'll find all the Jacks that were there with the Patricks. One final thing I'd like to say just about the going back to the Athlone return again about the cousin entry. This is, let's see, shine, there we are. Okay, this relation to the head of family. The head of the family filled this in, and they had to say how the other people were related to them. How they did that is something you need to approach with a certain amount of skepticism. As you can see here, Margaret Chimes put in cousin, and he is a cousin, but he's a first cousin once removed. Okay, there are also other very strange things about the returns. One of the most consistent and weirdest is grandparents recording their grandchildren as nieces and nephews. So you have the bones, the beginning of a family tree here, but like everything else in genealogy, don't accept everything at face value. Test it, check it out, keep hunting, and be lucky. Okay, thanks for watching.